Cheating wife claims marriage counseling is the only way. My name's Alvin, and I've been a quiet watcher of your channel for a long time. I always told myself I'd never be one of those guys writing in to tell some wild story about a cheating spouse. But here I am. After everything that's happened, I need to get this off my chest. You can call this therapy through storytelling because that's really what it feels like right now. I never thought I'd be the man whose wife got caught in the act, literally in our own home with her boss. But life has a way of humbling you when you least expect it. I met my ex-wife Tiffany in the most random way. Not at a party, not through friends, not online, at a McDonald's. Yeah, that's right. I was there on my lunch break from my maintenance job, sitting alone with a double quarter pounder and fries. She came in wearing this light pink blouse and black slacks, her hair tied up, carrying this confident energy that made her hard not to notice. She ordered a salad and a coffee, then ended up sitting across from me because it was crowded that day. We started talking after she made a joke about how her healthy eating wasn't fooling anyone because she added 3 creamers and 2 sugars to her coffee. I laughed. We talked about work, life, random stuff, just an easy kind of vibe. By the time she had to go, she wrote her number on a napkin and told me to call her sometime. That night, I did. And from there, we started dating. She was a few years older than me, 31 when we met. I was 27. She worked in accounting for a construction company. She had a good career, her own apartment, and she was definitely more financially stable than I was at the time. But I never cared about that. She liked that I was grounded, funny, and laid back. I liked that she was driven and seemed to have her life together. For the first year, things were great. We went on weekend trips, cooked together, binge-watched shows, and talked about building a future. I remember thinking she was the one. We got married in 2019. Simple courthouse ceremony, small dinner afterward with family and friends. No fancy wedding, no stress. Just love, or at least what I thought was love. The first 2 years were fine. We both worked, paid bills, and enjoyed small things. Movie nights, cooking, taking road trips. But around year 3, I started noticing changes in her. She got promoted at work to a management position, and suddenly she was too tired to do anything when she got home. Always had work meetings after hours, urgent deadlines, and late night calls. She started dressing differently too, more form-fitting clothes, new perfumes, expensive handbags that I didn't remember us budgeting for. When I asked about it, she brushed me off, saying, "I make my own money. I can treat myself." I didn't argue. I didn't want to be controlling. I just wanted peace in my home. But peace doesn't last when someone's lying to you. It happened on a Thursday night. I'll never forget it. I was supposed to be working late that day, but a pipe leak at one of the properties got postponed, so I came home early, around 7 instead of 10. Her car was in the driveway, lights on in the living room. I walked in quietly, not trying to surprise her or anything, just thinking we'd maybe have dinner together for once. Then I heard it. Soft moaning, movement, the kind of sound you instantly recognize when it's coming from your own bedroom. My heart started pounding. I walked down the hall and stopped at the door. It was slightly open. I pushed it open just enough to see. And there she was, my wife, on our bed, with her boss. He was a married man too, a guy named Philip, who was at least 45, balding, wearing the same damn work polo I'd seen in pictures when she showed me company events. I stood there frozen for a second, like my body didn't know what to do. I finally pushed the door all the way open and yelled, "Are you serious right now?" They both jumped. She screamed, grabbed a blanket. He scrambled for his pants. I'll never forget the look on her face. Pure shock, like I was the one doing something wrong by being there. I told him to get out before I lost it. He ran out the door, half dressed, shoes in hand. She tried to come toward me, crying, saying, "Alvin, please, I can explain." I told her, "Explain what?" "You're having sex with your boss in our bed." She started crying harder, trying to say it just happened, that she felt lonely, that I wasn't showing her affection anymore. All the typical excuses cheaters make when they get caught. I packed a bag and left that night, slept on my brother's couch. The next day, I went to work and started looking for divorce lawyers. 2 days later, she showed up at my job during lunch, makeup smeared, eyes red from crying. She begged me to talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her in the parking lot. She started with, "I messed up, but we can fix this. I'll stop screwing him. Let's get marriage counseling for us." Those were her exact words. "I'll stop screwing him." Like she was talking about quitting cigarettes or giving up soda. The casualness of it made me sick. I told her, "You didn't think about counseling before spreading your legs for your boss." She started crying again, saying she was stressed, that her job made her vulnerable, that he took advantage. I told her to stop insulting my intelligence. She was a grown woman who made a choice. She tried to guilt trip me, said she was the breadwinner, that I was being dramatic, that I'd never find someone like her again. "You're an idiot if you divorce me," she said. "I'm the boss bitch in this relationship. You're losing the best thing that ever happened to you." I walked away. Didn't even respond. I was done. The divorce process was ugly. She got herself a slick-talking lawyer who came in acting like she was the victim. They painted me as some lazy husband who depended on her money. Her lawyer even argued that she shouldn't have to pay me temporary spousal maintenance because Alvin is an able-bodied man capable of supporting himself. But the funny part is, she'd always been the one insisting on paying for everything during the marriage because she wanted control. She loved reminding me that her salary was twice mine. My lawyer, though, this man was sharp. He pulled out receipts, bank statements, texts, and even proof of her affair from phone records. He reminded the judge that I had been financially dependent during her affair because she'd insisted on joint accounts and managing the money. The day of the court hearing, she completely broke down. I'll never forget it. She stood there, crying, yelling, saying I didn't deserve half of our savings. She screamed, "He's lazy, he's broke, he doesn't deserve anything." The judge told her to calm down multiple times. She wouldn't stop. She was sobbing so hard her lawyer had to walk her out of the room. In the end, the judge ruled that she had to pay me 6 months of temporary spousal maintenance, plus I got half of the savings. She stormed out of the courtroom that day like her whole world collapsed, and maybe it did, but it was her own doing. We finalized the divorce 3 months ago. She's been quiet since, except for one last text saying, "You'll regret this when I'm gone." I blocked her after that. I won't lie, it's been a roller coaster. Some days I feel angry, other days relieved. I wake up alone, but at least I wake up in peace. I'm learning that peace is worth more than any relationship that keeps you walking on eggshells. I'm rebuilding slowly. Got my own small apartment, focusing on work, and finally started going back to the gym. I've reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with because of her. They all said they knew something was off about her. Funny how people always see it when you're too deep in love to notice. After the divorce was finalized, I really tried to move on. I wasn't thinking about revenge or ruining anyone's life. Honestly, I just wanted peace. I was working, saving money, hitting the gym, trying to rebuild what she tore apart. But it's hard to rebuild when the person who destroyed everything keeps showing up like a bad dream. See, Tiffany wasn't done trying to control the narrative. Even after the judge ordered her to pay me 6 months of temporary spousal maintenance, she couldn't just take the L quietly. She was mad that she had to pay me anything, even though she was the one caught having sex with her boss. She'd send me messages like, "You're pathetic for taking my money. Enjoy the handouts, loser." I worked hard for that money while you just fixed pipes. I ignored her. Every time I was tempted to reply, I told myself, She's already defeated. Don't let her drag you back into the dirt. But then, one day I got a call from one of her former coworkers, someone I barely knew but who apparently remembered me from company parties. Let's call her Monica. Monica said, "Alvin, I thought you should know something. Tiffany and her boss, Philip, didn't stop after you caught them. They're still sneaking around, and the funny thing is, they're now claiming you were abusive to justify why she cheated." That hit me hard. Not because I cared about what they thought of me, but because she was now rewriting history to make herself look like the victim. I asked, "Abusive? Are you serious?" Monica sighed. "Yeah, she said you were controlling and lazy and that you used her for money. It's like she's trying to make people feel sorry for her." I thanked Monica for telling me and hung up. I just sat there staring at my phone, boiling inside. You spend years being faithful, trying to build something, and then the person who betrayed you paints you as the villain. That's when I decided to stop being passive. The next week, I had a sit down with my lawyer, Henry. He was the same one who'd handled my divorce. Sharp guy, older, calm, the type who doesn't say much until it matters. I told him everything Monica said. Henry leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, and said, "Alvin, I've been doing this long enough to know people like your ex-wife. They think they're untouchable, but they always make mistakes." He asked me if I still had any evidence from the affair, emails, text messages, screenshots, anything that tied her to Philip. I told him yes. When I caught them, I had forwarded a few incriminating texts from her phone to mine before leaving the house that night. Messages like, "Close the office door, I'll come in 5. "He's working late again, you can stay over." Henry grinned. "Those might come in handy." Then he asked, "Do you know what company policy says about workplace relationships?" I shook my head. He said, "In most corporations, especially those handling finances or where there's a power imbalance between employee and superior, relationships like that can violate conduct policy, particularly if they're undisclosed or involve favoritism." That was when the light bulb went off. I didn't act immediately. I spent a month quietly gathering more information. I checked the company's public website. Tiffany still worked there, still in the same department. So did Philip, her boss. I noticed that they'd both attended a leadership retreat together a few weeks after our divorce was finalized. Then Monica texted me again. She said Tiffany had recently gotten a company car, something that was typically reserved for senior managers only. Guess who approved it? Philip. She also told me about a rumor floating around the office that Philip was giving Tiffany special treatment, like lighter workloads and first dibs on bonuses. It was clear they were still seeing each other, and Philip was abusing his authority to benefit her. Henry helped me dig deeper. He reached out to a private investigator he knew, someone who specialized in workplace misconduct cases. We'll call him Rick. Rick started by doing basic surveillance, following Tiffany and Philip after work. It didn't take long. Within a week, he had photos of them going into a hotel together after a business meeting. Rick also managed to get hold of a few witnesses willing to testify anonymously that Tiffany was bragging about her relationship with Philip at company lunches, saying things like, "I've got the boss wrapped around my finger." Henry told me, "This is more than just an affair now. This is corporate misconduct." With Henry's guidance, we compiled everything: texts, photos, witness statements, timestamps, and put it into a neatly organized document. Then Henry said something that made me smile for the first time in a long while. "Alvin," he said, "how would you feel about forwarding this to their company's HR department? Strictly professional, of course. No threats, no emotions, just facts." I said, "Let's do it." He helped me draft the email. It was polite, straightforward, and attached all the proof. It explained that Tiffany, an employee in the accounting department, was engaged in an undisclosed sexual relationship with her direct superior, Philip. who was showing favoritism and potential misuse of company assets, like the car. We sent it to HR and CC'd the legal department. Henry advised me to step back and let it play out. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Monica. She was almost laughing when she said, "Alvin, you won't believe this. They're both gone." I asked, "Gone? What do you mean?" She said, "HR called Tiffany and Philip in separately for questioning. They both denied it at first, but once HR showed them the evidence, emails, hotel receipts, even the car records, they cracked. Both were terminated for policy violations. HR said it was an undisclosed relationship that compromised management integrity." I sat there silent for a moment, just processing it. Part of me felt justice. Another part of me felt pity. I don't hate her, but I do hate what she did. And maybe this was just her facing the consequences of her own actions. Tiffany called me that same night from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. The moment I picked up, she started yelling. "You destroyed my life, Alvin. You're sick. How could you do this to me?" I stayed calm. "Tiff, you did this to yourself." She started crying. "You ruined me. I can't get another job in the field. I'll have to start over. Are you happy now?" I said, "You got yourself fired for sleeping with your boss. All I did was tell the truth." She went silent for a few seconds and then whispered, "You'll always be a nobody, Alvin." Then she hung up. I blocked her number after that. Word spread fast in her circle. Some people cut her off completely. Others pretended to be supportive. I heard she tried starting a small bookkeeping business from home, but it didn't take off. Apparently, Philip's wife divorced him too and took him for everything. So yeah, karma clocked in overtime on that one. Meanwhile, I was moving up in life. Around that time, I got promoted at work. My boss saw how consistent I'd been and gave me a raise. I started saving more, paid off some debt, and even started taking night classes in HVAC repair. I wanted to build something better for myself. There's something about going through hell that teaches you resilience. I stopped seeing myself as the guy who got cheated on. Instead, I started seeing myself as the guy who survived and leveled up. A few months after her firing, I heard through Monica that Tiffany had shown up at their old office crying and yelling in the parking lot, demanding to talk to HR. She was screaming that she'd been set up and that someone ruined her career. Security had to escort her out. Monica said, "It's sad, but she did it to herself. Everyone knows she was cheating with Philip. You didn't ruin her life. She did." That gave me closure. I didn't need revenge anymore. The world had already balanced the scales for me. It's been about a year since all that went down. I won't lie, I still think about it sometimes, but not with anger, more like disbelief. How did something that started so innocent at a McDonald's turn into such chaos? But I've learned so much. I've learned that money and status don't mean anything if you have no character. Tiffany used to brag about being a boss bish. Now she's the perfect example of how arrogance leads to downfall. I've also learned the importance of protecting your peace. No relationship, no matter how good it looks on the outside, is worth losing your self-respect for. I'm happier now. I work with my hands, earn my keep, and come home to silence and peace. No arguments, no fake apologies, no guilt trips, just peace. And honestly, that's worth more than any power couple nonsense she used to preach. About 3 months ago, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "Please read." It was from Tiffany. She wrote, "I know you hate me, but I just want to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve what I did to you. I lost everything, and I know I brought it on myself. I'm in therapy now trying to fix my life. I hope one day you can forgive me." I didn't reply. I don't hate her. I just don't have anything left to say. Sometimes silence is the best revenge. These days, I focus on my career and self-improvement. I started helping my cousin with his small HVAC business, and he's talking about making me a partner soon. I also started volunteering at a local youth center, helping teens learn trade skills, and for the first time in years, I feel purpose again. I even started dating again, not rushing, but I met someone nice through a mutual friend. She's calm, funny, and most importantly, transparent. It feels real this time. I told her everything about my past, and she said, "You went through fire and didn't let it burn you. That's strength." She's right. I went through fire, but I walked out forged, not broken. After the dust settled, after Tiffany and her boss got fired, after the court stuff ended, after I blocked her last apology, I hit a wall. You'd think I'd be celebrating, but I wasn't. I was just numb. Every morning I'd wake up in my small apartment, make coffee, and sit in silence. No yelling, no arguments, no fake "I love yous." Just quiet. For a while I didn't know what to do with that quiet. It was too peaceful, almost uncomfortable. I realized how much I'd been living in chaos without noticing it. It's like when you live next to a train track. You stop hearing the noise after a while, but once the train stops, the silence is deafening. That's what my life felt like. I had to relearn what normal felt like. At first, I tried to stay busy. I worked extra hours, hit the gym religiously. Even started picking up side jobs, fixing HVAC units on weekends. I told myself I was grinding and moving on, but truthfully, I was just distracting myself. Then one night it hit me. I'd been running from healing. There's this one night I remember vividly. It was raining hard. I was sitting on the couch and I looked at the empty space next to me where Tiffany used to sit. I thought about how much time I wasted trying to please someone who had no intention of being loyal. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt sadness. Not for losing her, but for losing me in that relationship. I started writing things down. Memories, lessons, things I wished I'd known. I filled half a notebook just pouring everything out. I wrote, "She wasn't my peace, she was my distraction." I didn't lose a wife. I lost my tolerance for disrespect. Forgiving doesn't mean I want her back. It means I want myself back. That was the start of real healing. I stopped focusing on her downfall or revenge. I didn't care what she was doing anymore. Instead, I started focusing on me, what I could do differently, what I could learn from all of it. But it wasn't all progress. There were days I broke down. Days I'd wake up in a cold sweat, remembering that moment I walked into my own bedroom and saw her with him. That image stayed burned into my brain longer than I'd like to admit. I'd replay it over and over, wondering if there was something I could have done differently. But every time I asked that question, I came back to the same answer. No, nothing justifies betrayal. Nothing. I learned that love without loyalty is just manipulation with nice packaging. There were nights I'd drink too much just to shut my brain off. I'd stare at my phone, tempted to look her up, but I never did. I refused to give her power over my peace again. That's when I started therapy. I used to think therapy was only for people who were weak, but it saved me. My therapist helped me unpack the guilt I didn't even realize I was carrying. She said, "You keep trying to make sense of someone's chaos. Stop doing that. You can't rationalize the irrational." That hit me deep. Slowly, I began rebuilding, not just financially, but emotionally. Work became a source of pride again. My boss saw how much effort I was putting in and gave me more responsibilities. Eventually, I was promoted to lead technician. That felt good, not just because of the raise, but because I earned it on my own terms. And no one could say I was riding someone's coattails anymore. I also started reconnecting with family. During my marriage, Tiffany didn't like me spending too much time with them. She'd always say, "Your family doesn't respect me." Truth was, she didn't like that they could see through her. After the divorce, my mom cooked me Sunday dinners again. My brother and I started hanging out. fixing up his old car, just talking like we used to. My dad told me he was proud of me for standing up for myself and not letting her destroy me. That meant more to me than I can explain. You know what surprised me most? How peaceful life feels when you stop chasing chaos. I used to think love had to be intense, dramatic, and full of ups and downs. But now I value simplicity. Morning coffee, quiet drives, working on engines, watching old Western movies on Sundays. I learned to be content with boring peace over exciting pain. There's this old car I bought, a 1989 Mustang GT. It's beat up, rust on the sides, interior torn up, engine coughing like it's on life support. But I love that thing. And in a way, I was fixing myself while fixing that car. Every bolt tightened, every panel replaced. It was like I was rebuilding the parts of myself that she broke. About 6 months ago, I ran into Tiffany by accident. It was at a grocery store on a Sunday afternoon. I almost didn't recognize her at first. She looked drained. Hair shorter, face tired, clothes wrinkled. She was nothing like the boss bish she used to brag about being. She froze when she saw me. We just stood there in the aisle, staring at each other for a few seconds. She said quietly, "Hey." I nodded. "Hey." There was this awkward silence before she said, "You look good. I see life's been treating you well." I shrugged. "Yeah, I can't complain. How about you?" Her eyes watered a bit. She said, "I'm trying. Things haven't been easy." I told her, "That's life. We all learn the hard way sometimes." She nodded slowly. "I still think about what I did. I hate myself for it." I didn't respond right away. I just looked at her and said, "It's in the past now. I forgave you a long time ago." That seemed to catch her off guard. She looked down, wiped her eyes, and said, "You really mean that?" "Yeah," I said, "because carrying hate only keeps me tied to the pain." She smiled weakly and said, "I'm glad you're okay." Then she walked away. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel satisfaction either. I just felt done. That's when I knew I'd truly healed. Now that I've had time to process everything, I realized something important. Pain really does change you. It can break you or build you, depending on how you handle it. I could have let that experience turn me bitter. I could have decided to hate all women or never trust again, but instead, I used it as a lesson. It taught me boundaries. It taught me to value peace over passion. It taught me to pay attention to actions, not words. It also taught me that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you ends up being the best thing for your growth. If she hadn't betrayed me, I might still be living in a false reality, thinking everything was fine while dying inside. Her cheating didn't destroy me, it freed me. A while after that grocery store encounter, I met someone. Her name's Jasmine. She's not flashy, not loud, not trying to prove anything to the world. She's just genuine. We met through a friend at a cookout. She works as a dental hygienist and loves old cars too, which caught me off guard. We started hanging out casually, coffee dates, car shows, road trips. It's different with her. There's no guessing, no games. She's transparent. She checks in, communicates, listens. She knows about my past and she never uses it against me. The other day, she said something that stuck with me. Sometimes God breaks your heart to save your soul. That line hit deep, because looking back, that's exactly what happened. Tiffany's betrayal broke my heart, but it saved my soul from being tied to someone toxic. If there's one thing I want other men listening to your channel to take from my story, it's this. Don't lose yourself trying to love someone who doesn't love you back the same way. Pay attention to how they make you feel when you're not doing something for them. That's when you'll see who they really are. And if you ever find yourself in a situation like mine, betrayed, broken, lost, don't rush your healing. Sit with it. Learn from it. It hurts now, but one day you'll look back and be thankful it happened, because it'll teach you to never settle for chaos again. A few weeks ago, I finally finished restoring that old Mustang. I took it for a long drive down the same route I used to take to work years ago when Tiffany and I were still together. Windows down, music up, sun shining. It felt like freedom. At one point, I stopped at that same McDonald's where I met her years ago. I parked in the same spot and just laughed, not out of pain, but because life really does come full circle. That place used to remind me of how we started. Now it reminds me of how far I've come. True story, I started this whole journey as a broken man trying to make sense of betrayal. I wrote to you in anger and pain, but now I write to you as a man who made it through the fire and came out whole. If you told me 2 years ago that I'd be happier, single, peaceful, and focused, I would have laughed in your face. But now, I wouldn't trade this peace for anything. I don't hate Tiffany anymore. In fact, I hope she's doing okay. Not because I want her back, but because wishing someone misery means part of me still cares, and I don't anymore. She was a chapter, not the whole book. The real story is about rediscovering myself, my strength, my worth, my peace. So yeah, I went through rough times. I lost sleep, I lost love, I lost money, but I gained wisdom. And if you ask me which is worth more, I'd pick wisdom every single time. Pain is a teacher. It's not kind, but it's effective. And once you pass the test, you realize it was never about what you lost. It was about what you became. Thanks again for reading True Story. I mean it when I say writing to your channel has been part of my healing process. Sometimes all a man needs is a place to tell his story and be heard without judgment. And if my story helps even one person realize they're not alone, it's worth it.